Hi.
What's
Hey,
going
y'all.
on, B?
Hey. Welcome. Such an amazing new day for our training. And I'm super duper over excited to be here with none other than the real Big
All right, we had a 10. Let's take
Y'all
it down.
probably got the fake one.
Let's take it. Let's take it.
The real Big Taylor.
You
The
so silly,
real
man. Let me
Big
switch you up. You the
Taylor.
big can. Well, what you got to say today, sis? I know you all over the place. So, what motivation do you bring to the table in the well for this beautiful morning before we start getting into the grind?
Yeah, well, absolutely. So today, first of all, I'm not here to motivate anybody. I'm going to be honest with you. I just share what my experiences have been, and I kind of like to tell you guys how I did it and how I'm doing it. And I want to just inspire you to do the same, because I believe that if you leave motivated, you'll still be broke. But if you leave inspired, you will actually allow it to change your life. So today, I just want to literally inspire you guys to understand that this can be your crossroads decision. You get what I'm saying? Like, this opportunity can be that crossroads decision for all of you that are new. You may be even struggling with what team to even really be a part of. Maybe you signed up because you are interested in learning about taxes, and you happen to accidentally see us on YouTube, and you happen to just be here now, and you're not sure if we are even the right team. Here's what I'm going to tell you. We've been in business for 15 years, over 15 years, and we have the same name. Do your research, okay? So if you want to understand about this industry, you have people that come and go. You have people that get started, then they stay in the industry, but they switch names to try to hide, not realizing that the IRS, if they own you, and they know everything about you. So there's nowhere in this industry that you actually can hide. But when you're with a company that may not have done things perfectly all the time, but they make corrections as they go, and they get better and better with time, the proof would be in the pudding. You understand what I'm saying? So my encouragement to you, I hope it inspires you to not just pitch your tent here, but take in everything that you're getting. Understand that you're with the right team. Understand that we're a family here, and we are vested, and we want to see you win. Does that make sense? We want to see that in this season of your life, that you're doing everything that's necessary in order for you to win in 2025. The beauty in the tax season is that we literally get to shift the trajectory of our lives by doing certain activities. That's it. The activities that we're introducing you guys to, the activities that we're encouraging and inspiring you guys to do, and that we're showing you, is we are giving you a multi-million-dollar blueprint today. So right now, it literally does not matter where you are, who you're with, what you have in your bank account today. This time next year, things can be different.
Yeah, ho.
And if you are consistent, and you consistently show up for yourself like you show up for your job, if you are consistent and you show up for yourself like you show up for your kids, if you are consistent and you show up for yourself like you show up for your friends, show up for you. If you show up for you 3 years from now, 5 years from now, you will then be able to live in all the success that you worked in this season to have. So, I mean, I'm super excited about everything. Of course, it's the holiday season. So, obviously, we want you to have a great time with your family. We want you to enjoy the holiday season and remember the reason for the season. It's not about presents, but it's about giving.
Mm.
And this season is also about reflecting, right? So use this season to reflect, this season to reposition yourself, this season to position yourself in such a way to where there is absolutely no way you can end up the same 12 months from now. There's absolutely no way. Save this YouTube channel. As a matter of fact, if you're on here, you're listening, subscribe and hit the notification bell so that whenever we do go live, because periodically throughout the season, to give you guys other tips and tools to be able to be successful in the industry, we will be going live. All right. And every day during this training, while we're training, you will automatically know because you will have the notification bell already selected. So you'll get the notification as soon as we schedule the class. So I'm excited for all of you all because this is the business that you get to decide how successful you're going to be. You're going to win. And you literally get to decide when you're going to do it.
Yeah, I think that's the best.
Let's see how bold they are, right, Vinny? They put their goals out there. We're paving the way. We've created a blueprint. We've done everything we needed to do, right? And we're still doing it. We're here for them. We're showing up. Now, it's going to be a time when we're going to be too busy to answer our phones and everything. But we're positioning everyone on this live and a part of Gap Tax Lady, everyone under the umbrella, no matter what the name of your company is, no matter where you're positioned, you are absolutely positioned to win. So during during the rest of the training, some of the things Vinny's going to go through and explain to you some of the things you can expect. And I'm super excited because we're going to be hearing from people like Sharonda, Shannon Williams, Charisse Brazil. I think Virgil may even come on too to talk more about admin. So I'm excited. And of course, none other than the real Vince Taylor. So
you're so sweet. I've reached a new level of this. Before I think I was at, everybody come on in, the water is fine. And now I feel like when I first moved to Florida, I had this bus driver. We didn't have buses in St. like that. And this bus driver, she used to get mad because we'd be so unruly on the bus. And she used to be like, look, I already did my 12 years. Like, I already got my degree. I ain't worried about y'all. And I'm starting to feel like that a little bit. Like, I'm tired. I'm not gonna motivate y'all no more. All right. If it don't motivate you on its own, I'm not gonna push you into success. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm over it at this point. Like, we do well, and we try to share what it is that put us in the position that we're in with folks. But at some point in time, those folks need to share it with themselves, and they just need to grasp it, and they need not to be walked to water when they thirsty. If we're giving them the bottled water right here. So I'm gonna train. I will continue to stay motivational, but I'm at the point where I'm not hooking people into this. You know what I'm saying? Like if you want to be successful with this, if this is gonna help you, great. But I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you that it's gonna help you out, because if you ain't figured that out on your own, then hey, that's on you. But I digress. I probably shouldn't have said that. I probably said too much right there. My bad.
No, because they need to hear that, Vinny, because that's the difference. That's like a settling in. Settling in. It's almost like literally teaching people how to fish, and then they say, "Well, I don't want to know how to fish." So you get what I'm saying? So we can't force them.
Listen. Look, some people want to work 50 weeks out the year. Some people want to wait for their paycheck. Some people want to be in a position to be fired. Some people want to be told when they cannot get raises. Some people cool with that. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're wrong. Some people, however, like yourself and me, would like to do our hard work and then spend the rest of our year in another country if we want to. Treat our family to the finest of things and not have to worry about whether or not it's going to break our bank account. To be able to save and spend last year's money this year instead of spending this year's money this year. You know,
Right.
it's not something that I feel like I have to sell anymore.
Mm.
It's so if you don't want none, I'm not here to tell you, hey, please join. No, look, do you. You do you. But in the meantime, I will kick off a lesson, just a quick one today. And I think we wanted to also reiterate what the schedule is going to be going forward. I don't think I'm going to be doing this tomorrow or the next or Monday or Tuesday leading up to Christmas. But the following Thursday, I think we pick this back up and continue our dailies. So the day after Christmas is when we'll pick back up with our daily training segments, I'm going to call them now, in which we'll give you a training morsel. Just to give you guys who hadn't been here for the last couple of days a quick heads up. I noticed that the videos that we were using as modules are a little outdated, a little choppy, a little older, and I do think that it's a little unfair for me to just throw that at you. So rather than have you sit through a 3-hour sermon and try to just wait for the important moments, I think it'd be better to do 30 to 60 minutes on a daily basis, quick morsels, questions, very, very, very precise lessons that are pinpointed to give you exactly what you need on day one. And then you should have enough to do basic tax preparation. We're not here to do the extensive portion. That comes a little later on. So you should be able to go from the beginning to the end, and then that should be done by the end of next week. So pull on up for that. For today, however, B, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and release you back to the wild. Thanks for your opening message. And
Absolutely.
then we will. So thank you, B. One more time for B, everybody. That's Miss B. You know how she do it.
Thank you.
All right. And so we're going to go ahead and keep it on moving. We'll give B a break here, and we'll come back to discuss what we did discuss yesterday. For those who were here and available yesterday, we went over the entry of income information. Okay. We started with just W-2s. That's where we're going to start with where we left off, just entering W-2s. And if you were here yesterday, you recall that we did enter the information for Avery Sample. Who's Avery Sample? That's our man right here who actually did come to us. We did also have his filing status, and we also knew that he was not going to be claiming any dependents. So this is what we used to set up Avery's file, and we actually started that process. And I would like you to follow along with me right now, if you will, so we can see where we were. Now, once again, we're using the GAAP tax software. So you should be able to see a screen that looks something like this, right, guys? All right, you should see a screen that looks something like this. Okay, so something like this here. Let me see where I can put myself. Nah, I'm all in the way. All right, you see yourself right here. Now here's your login. You should have your login and your password once you log in. By the way you get to this site, once again, for those who aren't familiar, is gap.cloudtaxoffice.com. gap.cloudtaxoffice.com. If you don't have logins, then you need to see B or holler at one of us so we can make sure you have your logins, and then you use your login to log in, like we will do right now. Let's go ahead and bam. So now we're logged in. So you can see if you go in here, you got all the way back. They keep a total of 6 years, so you want to make sure you got all your stuff for the file. Now, according to the taxes, according to the IRS, you don't necessarily have to hold on to tax information, but for 3 years up to the current year. All right. So this year means it's 2025, but we're doing 2024 taxes. So we should have 2021, 22, 23 still accessible in the event there are any questions. Okay. But for right now, let's look at what we did yesterday and continue. So we had Avery Sample. We entered Avery Sample. And what we started with was the basic information. All right. Basic info. First thing you're going to put in is your filing status. What's a filing status? It is how you're declaring your taxes will be declared for this year. Single typically means you're not filing dependents, but it doesn't necessarily mean for a fact that you're not filing dependents. Single just means that you're not the head of household. Honestly, that's really what it really means. We went over the filing statuses, but we'll go over all that again. We did Avery's file. I want to run through this one more time real quick, though, just because I want to make sure we're all in the right place. So I went to the basic information. We have his filing status here, which we put as single, which means he's not claiming any dependents. He's not filing as married or as a widower. Okay. And we have his personal information here. We got his social and all that other stuff. Now, remember, I put his social up so that you can use it. It's right here. All right. It's not real. All right. So don't worry about it. You're not using anybody's real information. And you don't have to use an occupation. This used to be an option. This used to be obligational right here. This occupation tab, but now no longer is it obligational. It is optional. However, I'm such, I guess I'm just too much of a habitualist. I've already gotten myself used to doing it, so I'm going to do it anyway. This right here is these first two are the ones you'll probably use the most, even though you probably still use those rarely. Okay. And we'll go over why you would use them later. Quick tidbit, heads up, or who knows, fast forward. This one you click in the event you're filing for somebody who is being claimed as a dependent on someone else's file. And this one is if that person or whomever it is that is on this file is over 18 and still a full-time student. Sometimes that lowers the refund, but that's weird. We have his address down here. We have the zip code, and then we have the phone number, and you can also put the email address. Highly recommend putting the email address in here. I don't have one now, but definitely works out for your to work in your advantage. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Then all we did was go to the next page where we did use the applicable information. Does he have dependents? No, as it says down here, there are no dependents. Okay, see, no dependents. So we just go ahead and keep it moving without the dependents. Now, what's most important is the income information, just like we did yesterday. All of these are different forms of income that can be entered. Income normally comes on two different types of forms, not restricted to these two, but normally comes on two standard forms, either a W-2 or a 1099, either a W-2 or a 1099, either a W-2 or a 1099, not a W-9, not a W-4, not WD-40, a W-2, a W-2. A W-2 gives you, as a employee, your full amount of pay for that year, including what was taken out for federal taxes that were withheld, including what was contributed for Medicare and Social Security. Okay, and also we'll have in your 12 codes, what actually came out for dependent care, health insurance, stuff like that. But let's keep it simple. Here, you all know what a W-2 looks like, but this is what we use for a W-2. Okay. Notice once again, if you look right here at the top, you see the EIN number. Very important. That's something that you're not going to find on a last pay stub, which is why we highly recommend you get the actual W-2 to avoid any inaccuracies. I know a lot of us want to get those first day taxes prepared. They want those folks who, they need this money now, Frankie. But be careful, because I have had folks in my younger days where we tried to use the last pay stub, and just in the spirit of being expedient, hoping that the numbers match up, we may have sent off one or two of these. And one of them, it only took one time for me. One of them came back and it was like, yeah, these numbers don't match up, so we're going to hold your refund. And man, that client lost her mind. And it was her. And she was the reason she wasn't. I'm like, look, we need pay stub. I need money now. Okay. I ain't never do that again. So she's like, look, I ain't never do that again. And I don't recommend it. Now, for those that are very experienced, I'm sure you may have some magic, some way to determine whether or not and I'll be honest, there are some paychecks, some last pay stubs that are a little easier to discern than some others. Typically those that come from, no shade, but fast food restaurants and serving places, they tend to have a little bit less for the servers, not the management, but for the servers, less on the last pay on the W-2. So if you notice right here, there's 12 codes, and those 12 codes are not represented at the bottom right-hand corner. They're not represented on the last pay stub too. So that's one of the reasons why I try to just use the W-2. But I will use the last pay stub to gauge what their actual taxes may look like. So if somebody's like, I got my last pay stub, okay, come on in, let's go ahead and get it done. I'll get a result. But before hitting send or submit, I'll be like, yo, I need the W-2 real quick right before I hit submit. You know what I'm saying? That's how I do it. So keep that in mind, but do what you think is best, obviously, for your business. Just don't get yourself in too much trouble that you can't get yourself out of. The IRS does not play, and you don't want to be on the wrong end of that. Okay, so we were talking about W-2s, and this is what we had thus far. And so if you notice in our handy dandy software, we are now entering the income page. And if you go here, you'll see W-2, and we entered the information right here, just as it's entered, just as it's put on this page, right? Just the way it looks. And let's just go over this real quick, and then I'd like to do a 1099 with you guys. Okay, let's go ahead and do us a 1099 since we already have the W-2 thing down. So if you go inside here, all right, if you click into the W-2 that we entered, then we're going to see what we put, right? Bam. So up here, all you do, literally what we used to call plug and chug. All right, put into the field what we have from our sheet. Okay, so we have employer identification number. So we just check our handy dandy W-2, bam. And the EIN, as you see at the top, is 11, and then all ones with the 2 at the end. So you'll notice that we did put that in right here where we highlighted it. All right, what's the next thing? Employer's name, company. All right, bam, it's at the top company, bam. So what did we do? Put it right there. All right, then we actually have the employee's name, Avery Sample, bam. It's not on the sheet because we're using this as a sample, but assuming that it would be Avery Sample, we put it here. The next thing we're going to see is the address, bam, right here as it's listed on this license. This should be the address for the company, so this actually is wrong. Oh no, there it is. 123 road, 123 Street Road. Anywhere, United States. You can't do anywhere because it's not going to let us do that. But 123. So you see how we got all this entered. Now let's go ahead and go down to the income part, right? So income, bam. This part's easy. It's plug and chug. So we see on the W-2, we have box 1, 98500. So we put in our software 98500 right there, box 1. Box 2, 15,000 for federal withholding. So we put right there 15,000, just like it says. And then the same for Social Security and Medicare, as well as the other side and the 12 codes at the bottom. All right, so you see we just matched that energy with this energy. We put what was going on there and put it on this screen. It's just that simple. Now, the logistics and semantics come by knowing what these numbers mean, and we'll go over that in a second, but let's just get done with the plug and chug. So we're going to scroll down a little bit further, and you notice right here we have boxes 12 and 13. These are our 12 code boxes, and if you notice, these are going to be at the bottom of your W-2. Look at the bottom of that W-2. You see right there where it says 12A D 1500. Each of these codes, each of these has a code that means something. The 12 codes, each of them actually means something. Okay, so this one, the D one, I think the D is for if I'm not mistaken, retirement. I think D is for retirement, and then double D is for, if I'm not mistaken, health insurance, right? I believe that's health insurance, and I'll show you guys that real quick in a second. So, but we want to put in what's on this W-2 into our handy dandy software. So bam, you'll look down here and you'll notice that it says 1500D. So I put 1500D, 12A 1500D retirement plan, because it has it clicked right there as well. You see that X in the middle right under 11 in box 13. So we put that in here as well. You also see DD, which I believe is for healthcare, and it's for 1,000. Let's just double check that. Yes, it says 1,000 right there. Okay, BM. And for the federal return, that will complete this. For the federal return, that's everything. Okay. If it's a state return, which this actually technically does have state info, and how do you know that? Because look at the very bottom in boxes 15 through 20. That's state income information, state income tax. We're going to go ahead and push past that because that's a little more complex. This is how you enter basic information from a W-2. Okay. And as far as those 12 codes go, this is what I was talking about when I said the 12 codes. So you look down here, you see the box 12A, box 12B. Yeah, you see those? So what that actually means, each of those D, DD, they each have significance. So check this out. This is the 12 codes. So as you notice, D, just like I said, is for retirement. All right, if you go down a little further, DD, yep, health insurance. Each of these has a significance. But honestly, if I'm being 100% honest with you, that's not really that. You don't have to know these things to enter this information into the screen. You know, you don't have to know what they stand for or what is significant, what the significance of the letter is in order to enter it. So as much as this is very nice to be aware of because you want to be able to inform your client, and you also want to be the expert in the room, so you don't want to be blindsided. Some clients like, what does this mean? You're like, I don't know. I want you to know what these things mean and have access to the information that shows you what they do signify. But if I'm being frank, it's not something that you have to have in order to be successful or to process this appropriately. So worry less about what it means and more about putting the number in the right place. Okay, I want to make sure we put the number in the right place. So this is what we want to be more concerned with. Knowing the code's great. You always can use your cheat code and Google what it is that it means. But you want to more importantly, you want to know where that information goes. And right here, you see that it goes BM in these boxes. Okay. And that's how you do a basic W-2, everybody. That is a basic W-2 for our good friend and homeboy, none other than Mr. Avery Sample here with his smiling face and his old Scottie Pippen looking self. All right. But what I wanted to do for our lesson today, since we already know how to do W-2s now, is I'd like to go ahead and go over 1099s. 1099s, 1099s, 1099s. Let me tell y'all something. 1099s, unlike W-2s, come in multiple forms. Okay. 1099s aren't just documents that you receive from your I don't even want to call them employers, because technically if you get a 1099, that's you're a sole proprietor, you're a contractor, independent. So we would just say whomever it is that's paying you. A 1099 is an exact depiction of all the money that you were paid from a certain entity from which you were not gainfully employed throughout that year. And that can include income that you got for labor, working, or some sort of job endeavor that you're not actually employed because you're an independent contractor. It can be, which typically would be a 1099 NEC, NEC standing for non-employee compensation. That's typically what you'd get from a quote unquote employer, even though you're not technically an employee. I know that's kind of weird that I'm saying it. You got to understand, like, an employee, specifically an employee, gets a W-2. All right. I mean, that means that you are employed by that company. If you're getting a 1099 because you fill out a W-9, you're technically an independent contractor. All right. And independent contractors, typically when you get a 1099, not always, but typically you have to take care of your own tax allocations. Okay. That's the hardest thing about 1099s, is that ordinarily, not all of them, most of the time, come with their own preset tax, their own taxes withheld. All right. You notice that when you have a W-2, excuse me, why my body making noises? When you have a W-2, you see right here how you have your federal withholding at the top right-hand corner, box 2. That's how much taxes was paid out of that $98,500 to the government. And we're trying to help them either not have to pay more or pay it back, or if they have to pay, they got to do what they got to do. All right. But on a 1099, you may notice that there is no such thing. They have a box 4, but you typically don't see that filled out unless it's opted by the person who filled out the W-9. And a lot of folks, typically when you get the W-9, you just fill out your name and sign it, So we'll show you how to actually put in the 1099 and what goes along with it. But 1099s are legion. Okay, there's 1099 non-employee compensation, like I said. There's also the 1099R, all right, which is for retirement withdrawals and things of that sort. You're also going to have your 1099 SSA For Social Security recipients, you're going to have your 1099-C for the cancellation of debt. You're going to have your 1099-G for when you receive some sort of unemployment. Sometimes there's even a 1099-G in other states that just declare how much it is you received in a tax return the other day, the year prior. You're going to have your 1099 dividends, all right, for when you actually are involved with some sort of crypto. There's a whole lot of different types of 1099s, okay? But what we're going to focus on today is the 1099 non-employee compensation. 1099 non-employee compensation is typically one that you will receive from somebody that's paying you as a independent contractor. All right, I get paid a 1099. Okay, so let's take a look at a 1099 and let's go back and let's make us a fictitious situation so we can go through this together. So in order for us to do this, everybody who's going to be a part of this little exercise, you have to be able to access this page right here in order for us to do this. Okay, so I need all of us, if possible, if you're watching along and we're training for this particular site, I need you to migrate to this site and follow along with me so we can generate the same results for this 1099. Okay, we're just going to do the basic surfer stuff this time. Okay, so today our client will be none other than Miss Janice Sample. All right, no relation. Janice Sample is going to be our client today. Janice Sample is still in college, but she's in a gap year. Okay, she ain't taking no classes or nothing. She's, she gonna finish in 2027. But right now, her and her man, they working some stuff out and they traveling the world and stuff. And he making a lot of money because he played for the NBA. But she got just a little side job that's in her business. So she only gets a 1099, a small 1099. But she good because, her parents still look out for her and her man be looking out. So we're just going to go ahead and enter little Janice, who's single with no dependents. We're going to enter her 1099 just so she can make sure she files appropriately this year and doesn't have any audits. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and give Miss Janice a fictitious social security number. All right. And we're going to keep her filing status as single as well. Okay. So let's go ahead and give her a social security number and let's keep this party rolling. All right, guys. So her social security number is going to be 267. I use 267 because I know it works. 744643. So what are we going to do? We're going to go ahead and start this file up. And also, she's presented to us. We know that she's presented to us her driver's license for identity purposes, her social security card, and she's also signed our consent form saying that everything that she's presenting to us is indeed accurate. All right, and she's also signed our direct deposit form. And we have all of the information necessary to give her a direct deposit. In the event she does get a refund, which at this point is doubtful. Okay. Why is it doubtful? Because I told you she's paid the 1099 and more than likely she doesn't have any taxes set aside. And remember, you don't get a refund for filing taxes. You get a refund for having paid taxes before. That's what refunds are, is when you're given funds back from which you gave them before. You can't get a tax refund for something you did not pay taxes. You might be able to get credits, like I said before, earned income credit, child tax credit, AOTC, American Opportunity Tax Credit. These are credits that you get just for qualifying. This is money you get, or at least a reduction of your fees that you get just for qualifying, just for meeting the requirements. For you have an earned income credit. Do you have a dependent that is under the age of 23 that is in school and you have income that is under, say, 30, 40K, then you should probably get some earned income credit. All right. Just because you meet those parameters. Do you have a college? Are you in college right now? Do you have a 1098T that your school issued you, of which you did have qualified scholarships, grants, or whatnot? Then you may also be eligible for that credit. But those are not tax returns. Tax returns is when you have these types of forms, like a W-2 or even a 1099, and you have box 2. That is the most important part about this. Box 2 shows that taxes were withheld. Taxes were paid. So you are due possibly a refund because they were paid. You can't get refunded something you didn't pay. I dare you, challenge you to go up into Popeyes and say, yo, I'm here for my refund. They be like, all right, cool. Where's the food? Where's the receipt? You're like, oh, well, there ain't no food. I ain't eating nothing. I don't even like Popeyes, but I want my refund. They be like, well, you crazy. What's wrong with you? You can't go to Walmart and be like, yo, where's my refund? Where's my refund? Well, where's your receipt? Oh, I didn't buy nothing. Well, what are we giving you a refund for? The IRS is doing the same thing to you. Like, oh yeah, well, I bought a car, I bought a house. Where's my refund? Did you buy a house from the IRS? Then we don't owe you. we don't owe you a refund for that. And are you still living in the house? Normally, if you're getting a refund, it's because you're bringing something back, right? People have a misconception of what refunds are. And it is your job as a professional to bring them back down to earth. Your tax refund is not a child credit. Your tax refund is not a refund for you purchasing a computer, buying a TV, getting furniture, or getting a car. The refund is not a refund for purchases. It is a refund for taxes paid. That's why it is called a tax refund. Hallelujah. I'm sorry. I get a little choked. I get a little worked up. All right, so let's go ahead and get this party going. So we already know we've got our client, Janice Sample. She's given us her driver's license. We know her social because she gave it to us in the form of a social security card. She also gave us the 2 consent forms necessary to make sure we have her permission to access her information. We also have her bank information. We also have her income information, which, that's not it. And we know that she has no dependents. And so that's what we have from her as of this moment. She also presented us with her 1099. And I know that the information on here doesn't match, so don't at me. I know that her name isn't on here and that her city and that the company is not necessarily what it says on here. But this is what we're going to use as an example for this year. We've got her 1099 NEC. Okay. No, her name's not Ronald Green. And no, it's not 2021. But we're going to use our imaginations, and that says 2024 actually, and the recipient's name is Miss Sample. Okay, so let's go ahead and work this out, guys. Let's go ahead and do what we do and get this party started with the tax preparation. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to new tax return. All right, and now we have her social security number. So I'll put it up here on the screen for us. And the social is, as we said, 267, right down here at the bottom, 267 74 46 43. 267 74 46 43. All right, you got to put it in twice, and then it will open up her ID page. ID page, this is the simple basic information. Typically, the overwhelming majority of this will be on her license, but you have to make sure that the information on the license is correct, which is why we always ask, is your address current before we go to anything else. Before we begin, all right, this is just a reminder that some of the things that are the way they are in the tax software now won't necessarily be that way when the filing starts, because we still don't know if there's going to be any modifications because of the change in administration, or there are possibly some things that need to be implemented at a certain time, and they can't be implemented until next year, and thus as a result they cannot be put into the software because they don't know how it's going to be implemented. So this is just a quick heads up. Hey, the way that the system is now may not be the way that it always is. Okay, check it out. So let's go ahead and do this. What was she? Was she single or married? What was she? Do we remember? Oh yes, that's right, she's single. The 5 filing statuses: single, married, filing joint, married, filing separate, head of household, spouse, survivor, sounds wrong, widow, widower, all right, and the resident alien, which just started like a couple years ago. Quick recap. Single, typically single would mean that you're not filing dependents, but it doesn't mean that you definitely are not filing dependents. You can file single and not have dependents. And like I said yesterday, the way that would happen would be, say you have a couple kids, but you still live with your mom, and your mom has kids, and your mom is still head of household, so she still can file head of household, and you can still file as single and claim your dependents. Typically they want to have one head of household in one household, but we know that's not always the case. You can have, a family on this side, a family on that side. There are ways of getting around it, but typically for somebody who is filing with kids, You normally would want to do that as head of household. However, there are certain circumstances in which you may find yourself filing somebody as single, even though they're claiming dependents. Also, this is just a quick hack. All right, there's nothing wrong about this, but this is a hack that you can consider as well. There are, as I say every year, there are a few things that are more auditable, that are more on that are more under the surveillance of the IRS than others. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and give you this list. Okay, it's four things that typically are monitored closer than others when it comes to the IRS. And here they are. They are going, and I'm just going to say them. So I don't have it. I don't think I have a thing for it. Do I? No, I don't think so. Yeah. Actually, I do. I do have it down here. So these four things are head of household filing status, earned income credit, child tax credit, and American Opportunity Credit. These four things are going to be scrutinized more than any other thing. All right. So if you file head of household, there's a certain criterion that they're hoping that they want to make sure that you can meet. And that criterion will include, how do I know you had a household? What's your name on? Is it on the house? Is it on the lease? Is it on all the bills? How can I confirm that you're head of household? Also, if you're claiming head of household, that means that these kids that you're claiming lived with you. How can you prove that these kids lived with you? That's where the child tax credit part comes in. All right, so these four items right here, HOH, head of household, earned income credit, child tax credit, and American Opportunity Tax Credit, are amongst the highest scrutinized. I mean, this is a status credit that you can put in your file. So I automatically know that if I have any of these in my file, that file got to be airtight. Every file should be airtight anyway, but these are the ones that they're more than likely to receive a letter for. Okay, and if they receive a letter, then the letter is more than likely going to be requesting information. If you don't have that information, you may forfeit whatever your request was. So be very cautious about these four items: head of household, earned income credit, child tax credit, and American Opportunity Credit. American Opportunity Credit is just if you are a student who is eligible for the education credit, the 8863 credit. All right, and they'll give you a 1098T form. And if you get a 1098T form, then you use that on your taxes. It's that simple. Just don't use the American Opportunity Credit if you don't get a 1098T form. You'll stay out of trouble. It's that simple. Okay? So moving right along to where I was, we had already declared that our client, Miss Sample, is filing as single, correct? I mean, that's what it says on her information. So we're going to go ahead and keep her as single. And since she is filing as single, we only have to worry about clicking this button right here. Bam, single. So let's go ahead and hit that. Let's go ahead and put this to a rapper size, and let's keep it moving, guys. All right. So now we just had to enter her basic information. We already know how to do this. This is cake, literally cake. So what's her name? Her name is, because it's on here, Janice Sample. So let's go ahead and put in here Janice Sample. I typically like to use all caps, everybody. Janice Sample. What's her social? Well, we had that from before. It's right here at the bottom of the screen. You see it? See it right here? 267-74-4643. It auto-populated for us right here. So aren't we happy about that? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So now we want date of birth. Date of birth. Well, normally we would have her fill out our client intake sheet, which she'll declare her date of birth. But since that's not what's happening right now, let's just look back at the license and you'll notice that it says date of birth, DOB 0804 1960. She don't look like 1969. Well, yeah, black don't crap. Well, I tell you what, boy. So we're gonna go ahead and put this here. 0804 1969. Occupation right now, we're gonna put self because she's an independent contractor for the time being. But you could put whatever it is she is. She may be a freelance engineer, a freelance medical worker, a hair care worker, an artist, a TikToker. Who knows? Okay. Now, if she could still be claimed. I got a text from the client. If she can still be claimed by her parents or by somebody else, then we click this. All right, but she can't. She's not being claimed by anybody. I mean, according to this, I think she's about 44. She's 55. She just according to this, she's 55, bro. You know, so I mean, I don't know about claiming anything, but yeah. So we want to keep that in mind as well. All right. So let's leave these blank. Let's go ahead and put in our address, which we also, now this, you have to make sure that we have the correct address. So we normally ask, is the address on your license correct? So let's go ahead and put in what it says. It says that she stays on 123 Main Street. Oh, how convenient. Main Street. And she's in apartment 1 as well. Okay. What's her zip code? Oh, she's in Harrisburg. Okay. 17101. All right. You see that 17101. Okay, that's Harrisburg. Auto populates the city, auto populates the state. Make sure if the state that she's using on this address is not the state that she's residing in, that you fix that. Put her daytime phone number in here. She's in Pennsylvania. What's the Pennsylvania area code? I can't remember right now. We'll just use New Jersey. 973 446-8484, generic number. I just made it up. And then you put the email address down here as well. And then Padal, that is the ID page. That's the personal information page. Simple, right? Simple. Okay. You're going to do everybody like that. Everybody. And here's the good news. If it's a returning client, then you'll have the ability to import that client's data from the year prior if the Social Security matches up. Okay. So we already asked, does this person have any dependents? And as we already declared from the get, no, they don't have dependents. So we're going to click no right here. Yeah, just that simple. Now, the fun part, the income page, right? So as we said before, this client, our client, handy dandy Miss Janice Sample, she does not have a W-2. All she has is a 1099 because she's just working part-time while she's finishing college. Okay, no big deal. Maybe she throws newspapers out. You know, who knows? Maybe she helps at the arena, you know, every time there's a big event or something like that, but she doesn't do a lot, you know. So therefore, this is her 1099. Again, disregard the recipient's name and the year on here, and the recipient's TIN, taxpayer identification number, which is just another way of saying Social Security number. We're going to go ahead and use this as her income, just for the sake of learning how to do this 1099. Okay, everybody cool with that? Let's go ahead and get to work. So we're going to look down our handy dandy. I don't know why I'm using handy dandy a little extra this year, but it is what it is. You can tell the coffee started kicking. So we're gonna look for 1099. Here's the beauty of this. Excuse me. Here's the beauty of this software. Whenever you have a form that you want to use, i.e. 1099 NEC, and you may not necessarily know where to find it, you can look for it in your search bar. Okay, if you look up here, there's a form number. Enter form number. You see that right here? All right. So if I don't know where 1099 NEC is because I'm trying to use it and I'm just a little newer, I don't know where I can find this form, then what I can do is I can go to the form finder and type in 1099 NEC, exactly as it says, and bam, look what comes up. All right. So I can actually use this. Now for my hardcore, I need to know, I want to know how to do it from scratch. I don't buy just add water pancakes. Well, for those that have to know how it's done, look, you see it's right here. All right. It's right here in the event you want to still do it, you know, from, you know, however you, if you don't want to type it in. But for those who just want to type it in, BM, it's right here. All right. So now let's go ahead and get the numbers where they're supposed to be, right? BM. So we know that her payer's name is The Builders. And if you look on the sheet, you notice that the very first thing they ask for is the payer's TIN. Let's look back on our 1099. All right. And we see a TIN right there. The payer's TIN. What's it say? 10 and then all nines. So we'll go ahead and put 10 and all nines right here. Okay. Then it's asking for the payer's name. And I believe it said Z Builders, right? So we're going to go ahead and put Z Builders right here. Okay. Let's keep it moving. We're going to go ahead and put in the address because that's the next thing it says. Let's go ahead and just so you can follow along. We're going to scroll down a little bit. The next thing is the address. So let's go ahead and put in our address. 123 Maple Avenue. All right. Which is in, it's an all zero zip code. So I got a feeling it may not accept that. Let's see what it does. We got zeros for the zip code. Where does it say? Yeah, it's not going to let us use that. So just for the sake of doing this, I think we're going to have to put her in Schenectady for now. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And bam. And then just double check, make sure all this is correct. Now, this is the easy part, right? So we've scrolled down to the non-employee compensation part. If you look over here, then you'll see on our 1099 NEC, then there's a box 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7. And that's it. Those boxes are the only ones we're concerned with. And only one of them is filled out. And that is box 1 for non-employee compensation. So we're going to go here and put in for non-employee compensation, 5,500, because I believe that's what it says. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you complete that 1099. Pretty simple, right? Next thing I got to do is just hit continue. Now, here's where it gets a tiny bit complicated. And I'm going to stop the music on this one because this one is important. So when you have a 1099 non-employee compensation, it has to flow to either a Schedule C or a Schedule E. All right. It can't, or Schedule F. We don't typically do farm income, but one of those as well. Now, that means that a 1099 either is self-employment income that comes from a self-employed endeavor, which typically will go into a Schedule C for your business. All right. Even if you're an independent contractor without an LLC, that still goes into a business setting. All right. So it's going to go to Schedule C or Schedule E, which is for rental properties. If you own homes, apartments, condos, or even rent out Airbnbs and things of that sort. For this particular case, this is for her own individual endeavor. So instead of it being a farm income F or rental income E, we are going to look to C for this. All right. And with that, we're going to hit continue, which is going to flow it over to a Schedule C. So you should remember, when you do a 1099 NEC, you're either going to have a Schedule C or Schedule E. That rhymes. So you should be able to remember that. All right. When you do a 1099 NEC, you're going to have to do either a Schedule E or a Schedule C. 9 times out of 10, it'll be a Schedule C because most people in our clientele base don't own multiple rental properties. But again, that 1 out of 10 times will come across your desk once in a while as well, as rental properties are an easy, in my opinion, I don't say easy, but are a way to continue to maintain income even without employment. So you notice something here. So we now put in the income information, and you see over here that the federal, this is their refund as of right now. All right. It is a negative $385. She, as of this moment, owes the IRS $385. The next thing we need to do for the Schedule C is put in this information. If she does indeed own a business, all right, then this is where she'd put that information. If she is simply operating as an independent contractor, then you don't have to enter all that, but you do still want to list what type of business it is. All right, now I'm going to assume that this is in, let's just say hair, beauty. All right, just for now. I mean, look, I'm sure she's capable of plenty things, and beauty doesn't have to be something that she's relegated to. But just for the sake of moving this on, we're just going to say it's beauty supplies, all right, or beauty salon. She can do a real good micro braid. We click that, bam, all of a sudden now we have these options for Schedule C's that we did not know we could use. This is where we get a little more information from our client, because now with the 1099 NEC, since we're doing non-employee compensation income, we can also include some of the expenses that she incurred in order to receive that income. So she doesn't have to get taxed on her net, on her gross, but her net. All right, the gross being the total of what she received income-wise, the net being what she received after expenses were included. All right, so this is where we want to ask her to verify some of her expenses that she had for this 1099. Okay, what can that be? Did you have a phone that was dedicated specifically for this business? Do you have the receipts for those? Okay, cool. So you get the receipts and you learn, oh wow, so you spent $1,200 on your phone for this whole year. So you can put that under utilities. All right, so I'm gonna go to utilities. Oh, sorry, I might have done that a little fast. Let me go back. So on this sheet, I'm going to go to general expenses for the overwhelming majority of what it is that I want to put in, okay? General expenses are going to have a list of expenses that are applicable for anybody who is filing as an independent contractor. But here's a very important point. You don't want to just enter whatever random numbers here. You want to put numbers in a manner that you're confident that you could prove these numbers to the IRS easily if they ask questions. Me personally, I prefer to have the bank statements, the receipts for these expenses before I even consider using them. Because if the IRS asks questions about something, they don't normally ask it right then and there. They'll ask it 3 years later. By then, you haven't kept those receipts. You don't still have those bank accounts. So it's best to get the information now because your client probably won't keep up with it. Okay. But let's just say she does have a receipt that shows that she did pay. Let's give her $2,400. She paid roughly about $200 a month for her phone bill. So we're going to go ahead and use that as an expense because it does say that she did use it for her bill, for her business. And let's just, maybe let's assume that she also made this purchase strictly for the business. Okay. So now we have reduced her AGI, which stands for adjusted gross income, down to $2,800, which it's just because we spent $2,400, and her federal balance due has reduced to $200 as well. So that helped her out a great deal. And then there'll be more expenses for me. I can ask more. I say, hey, do you have car insurance, or do you have any? Did you have to purchase any utilities? Any supplies, things like that? Did you have to put money on a booth at a mall or something like that? And you use all those expenses, each of those which will impact this, but you want to make sure, once again, first and foremost, that you have proof that these expenses actually exist and that you're using qualified expenses and not just writing off a bunch of stuff that is not qualified for this endeavor. And once you've done that, you'll end up with this results. Now, that's not the end of the actual tax file. There's more to do. We still have to go to the part where we have to put their health insurance information in, the driver's license, the bank information if they're going to do direct deposit or direct debit. But in the spirit of keeping it simple and doing one lesson on a daily, now you should at least have a better idea as to how to enter a 1099 non-employee compensation and a W-2, even though we did the W-2 thing yesterday. Okay? So that's all we wanted to do. Just a quick lesson, 1099 NEC for today. We will meet back again in about a week where we'll go over this. I hope everybody has a good holiday season. Thank you so much for tuning in for me and B to give you some of these quick tax tips for you can have a successful 2025 tax season. And do like I say, don't count your days on the earth, and all things, make your days on the earth count.